Hey Bible lovers, I'm Tim Nichols and I'm here to bring you your Nichols Worth. And if you know my channel, you know I have read a lot of translations. In fact, I have read 20 if you count the Passion Translation, which I probably wouldn't. So we're going to dial that back down to 19. And I'm going to be reading some more translations in the future. My plan is to read the Majority Standard Bible, the NASB 77, and maybe a few others as time allows. Right now I'm currently reading the New King James, but what all these Bibles have in common is these are Bibles I have read from cover to cover. Now there's only 14 Bibles here. I've read 19 translations. That's because I no longer have the original CSB I read. I no longer have the original NIV 1984, LSB, or NLT. And when I read the HCSB, they weren't in print, so I actually read that one off my phone. Yeah, the very thing I say not to do. This video is really just about the value of reading a physical Bible. None of these are super expensive Bibles, but they are all Bibles that I've read from cover to cover. So in no particular order, I'm just going to show you real quickly each Bible that I've read from cover to cover. This is the NASB 1995. This is a thin line. Not only did I read this Bible from cover to cover, but for 1 year I preached from it. I abandoned the NASB pretty quick because it just wasn't working for me, but it is a good translation. And also I didn't do a whole lot of writing in this one as I read it, but one thing I always do is I mark up Ephesians. Ephesians is my favorite Pauline letter, and I'm always marking that up, and you can see it handled marking pretty well. There's some significant ghosting there, but there's a little bleed through right there on that one, but not bad. But this is no longer in print. This is the NASB 1995 thin line. All right, so we'll move from side to side here. And this is one of my more recent read-throughs, and this is the MEV. Now, this is the only in-print option of the MEV 2024 besides the Spiritual Warfare Bible. And I read through this, and as you can see, I marked it. This paper is not good. And in fact, in several places, I had to use this really light yellow highlighter because the darker colors bled through so badly. But I tell you what, it's line matched. The print is nice, big, and bold. It is quite readable. I didn't have any trouble with this. I enjoyed my read through, but there are a bunch of typos in the MEV. But I do like that it's in the spirit of the King James, and I also like its similarity to the New King James. So now let's go to this side. And this is a Bible that I preached out of for years. And I also read cover to cover multiple times. So this is probably my most well-worn Bible that I own. You can see the gilding is worn out and just kind of seen some weather. I had the Lakeside Worship Center Creed. We used to say a creed before we proclaimed our membership. You can see that the presentation page is torn. You can see this used to have wedding ceremonies taped to it. I mean, this Bible has been through it. I didn't do a lot of writing on my Bible then, but I was doing a study on the book of Revelation, did quite a bit of writing on that, and as you can see, it does bleed through a bit, even with a ballpoint pen, but really enjoyed my read-through of the ESV, and this is actually the 2016 edition. Moving to this side, I decided to read the RSV, and when I did, I decided to go ahead and read the first edition, the 1959. I did some comparisons to more modern translations, but when I read the RSV, I read this one. Didn't do a lot of marking in this one, but I tell you what, I was surprised with how well this was laid out and how easy this was to read. This is actually a first edition Thomas Nelson version of the RSV. Really nice read through. I've also read the WEB, and I read this one, of course, from cover to cover. And this one has those little cartoony comic book looking artwork all the way through. It's got an interesting set of notes, and when I did do some writing, there is absolutely no ghosting. This paper is actually not bad. This print is really light. That's one of the problems with it. I didn't do any highlighting in this one. I just did some marking with pens, but really liked the read through. I wish there was a better in-print edition of the WEB. I'd love to see this get some better treatment. The ASV, this one's a little wild. I didn't like it, but this was a pretty pleasant read through. First of all, this is a pretty great little layout here, and I really enjoyed reading through the ASV in probably 70-year-old Bible. Didn't do a whole lot of marking in this one as well. There's some pencil marks here and there, but I did not like the ASV a whole lot. It's got some things about the deity of Jesus that I didn't like too much. I also mentioned how this is tied to the Jehovah's Witnesses a little bit. They're not behind the translation, but it was one that they adopted. NJV, this is a bit of an obscure translation. It handles the divine name differently as it leaves it untranslated. This has a very nice layout, very nice paper. There is a typo or two in this, but you can see the paper doesn't ghost. This one is actually still available in print. You can only get it from the Netherlands. You have to order it overseas, and there's some currency exchange rates and stuff. It is a little bit pricey, but I think this is well worth the read because it's from the majority text, just like the WEB. And I'm going to separate them from what's in print and what isn't, because these are no longer in print, but these are. The Berean Standard Bible, this is actually no longer in print because this is a previous edition. This is the second edition. Really enjoyed the read through of that. I've got a new edition of this in the third edition. It's got lots of updates, but I did really like my read through of the Berean Standard Bible. This used to be called the Berean Study Bible, by the way. But as you can see, I enjoy reading hardbacks. They're easy to store, and they don't seem to take as much of a beating as some of your softbacks do. I've also read the NET. Really liked this. The best feature of the NET is the fact that it has the one with the full notes. It does have some quirky places, but I'm telling you, overall, this reads very NIV-ish, while the BSB kind of reads a little CSB-ish. So just so you can kind of know that. Then I read the New King James. Now, admittedly, this is a replacement Bible. I don't have the original one on here. Actually, my original one had my name stamped on it, and it was initially misspelled. Wasn't it, Camera Lady? And then, but anyhow, I ended up getting another copy, and I really loved this. And yes, I read the commentary. Probably not every bit of commentary, but I read the articles, I read the notes, and really enjoyed like the little word focuses. I used these. I read this thing probably until it fell apart. I actually can't remember what happened to the original edition of this, but I love the New King James, and I love that New King James Study Bible. Also read through the NASB 2020. Now this one is one I marked up the most because I was trying to compare it to the NASB 1995. There are some differences. It's mostly similar, but the big difference is the gender accuracy versus man and person and things like that. But I actually really like the NASB 2020. I probably prefer it over the NASB 1995. I bet y'all can't believe that, but yes. I actually probably prefer it over the 95. This reads kind of similar to the CSB as well. Now I have this Full Life Study Bible. This was my first real study Bible. That one was my second one. This one was the one I really cut my teeth on and learned the ropes. It is an international study Bible for Pentecostal and charismatic Christians. So that's something you may want to know. It's now called the Life in the Spirit Bible when it's published by Thomas Nelson. And then also Fire Bible when it's published by Life Publishing, and then it's a Fire Bible when it's published by Hendrickson. It's pretty much the same thing. I think the Life in the Spirit Bible has a few little edits here and there. But overall, this was an amazing reading experience in the King James Version. Loved the commentary. I've probably read every single bit of this commentary at some point as I was reading through the KJV and as I was using this as my daily Bible. Mine actually fell apart. I don't even know where it is anymore, but it was crumbling. The NRSV, and I actually read the NRSV CE, so I read the Apocrypha with this, and as you can see, the ghosting on this isn't bad. This is pretty decent paper, and even with the ink pen, I mean, you can see a little bit of ghosting there, but for the most part, this does really, really well. I can't remember what highlighters I used in this. Sometimes I use color pencils, sometimes I use gel pens, and on and on and on. I liked the NRSV because it was readable. I liked a few renderings in it. For example, when it talked about the dead, when it's talking about dead spirits, it actually uses the word shades, which I thought was really interesting and something that let me know that there's a difference between dead and dead spirits. But overall, I don't love this translation. I especially don't love the NRSV UE, but I did enjoy reading through it. Then lastly, the Douay Rheims. And yes, I read this big honker. I carried this thing around every day for 6 months. And it's a big boy. There's my hand, and like this is a study Bible. In comparison, it is still even larger than a study Bible and about as thick as a study Bible. But I did enjoy the nice large print. Baronius Press, this is a beautiful layout. And I actually really liked my read through. It had a couple spots in it, like in Genesis chapter 3 where it says, and she shall crush his head, indicating Mary. I also didn't like give us this day our super substantial bread. I also didn't like do penance instead of repent. So there were some things in this I liked and that I didn't like, but the paper is excellent. The layout is excellent. Really enjoyed my read through of this. I didn't do a lot of marking on this. There you can see I did a ballpoint pen, and we'll see this paper is very thick. So yeah, there was virtually no ghosting in this. So Those are 14 physical Bibles that I've actually read through, plus a few that are missing and a couple replacements. What do you think? How many physical Bibles have you read? God bless you. Keep calm. Jesus on. This is your Nicholsworth.